So how do you even begin to design for a learner who's also scrolling social media, texting their friends, and getting a dozen notifications every few seconds? Yeah, that's the core challenge of mobile learning. Today, we're going to build the blueprint for designing learning experiences that actually work for the distracted mind.
You know, this quote from way back in 2005 really captures the original, powerful dream of mobile learning. The idea wasn't just about shrinking lessons onto a smaller screen. It was this huge promise to make education personal, spontaneous, and truly accessible to anyone, anywhere. This is the why behind everything we're about to dive into.
So what does this anytime, anywhere promise actually look like in the real world? When we get mobile learning right, what kind of potential are we really unlocking?
I mean, the potential here is just massive. We're talking about breaking down huge barriers of cost and location. But the real game changer, it's this idea of situated learning. Just imagine a technician pulling up a quick video tutorial right there in front of the machine they need to fix. That's learning happening in the real world, not just about it. That's powerful stuff.
But, and this is a big but, as incredible as that promise is, we have to get real. We have to face the messy, complicated, and, yeah, often distracted reality of what it's like to learn on a mobile device. This is where great design becomes absolutely non-negotiable.
Okay, so this lays it all out, right? It's like two totally different worlds. Desktop learning kind of assumes you're in this quiet, focused, stable environment. But mobile learning, it assumes the complete opposite. You're designing for someone on a crowded bus, trying to squeeze in a lesson between stops. The context isn't just different, it's chaotic.
And it's not just the user's crazy environment, it's the technology itself. Tanya Elias's research really highlights these key technical hurdles. We can't just design for the latest, greatest iPhone. We have to think about everything from basic feature phones to spotty connections and the sheer frustration of trying to type on a tiny little screen. These are the hard constraints we have to work with.
So, how in the world do we solve this? Let's get into the solution, starting with our very first core principle for success. You absolutely, positively must design for the learner's context. This right here, this is the first and honestly the most important question you have to ask. Before you write a single line of code, you have to picture your learner. Are they on a noisy factory floor in a quiet waiting room? Are they trying to do this with one hand while holding a coffee? Context is everything. What this really means is you're designing for micro moments. You know, those little 5-minute gaps in a person's day. And here's a great practical test for that. Can your user navigate the entire thing with just their thumb? Seriously, if they can't, your design is probably too complex for how they'll actually use it.
Okay, let's move on to our second principle, which builds right on top of this idea of context. Once you truly understand the constraints, the next step is pretty clear. You have to simplify everything.
I love this quote from user interface expert Luke Wroblewski because he just nails it. The small screen isn't a limitation, it's actually a powerful tool that gives you focus. It forces you to get rid of all the fluff and prioritize only what is absolutely essential for the learner. There is literally no room for nice-to-haves.
And the practical application of all this simplification is a concept called microlearning. This is how you respect that distracted, in-between context we were just talking about. You package everything into small, self-contained chunks that someone can actually start and finish on their train ride to work. No more one-hour modules. So, what does this simplification mindset look like in action? Well, first, you have to be ruthless about prioritizing only the must-knows. Second, you cut every single feature that isn't essential. And third, you streamline the navigation. A great rule of thumb is this: can the user get what they need in 3 taps or less? If not, it's too complicated.
All right, this brings us to our third and final principle, and this is the one that really ties it all together. Once you've designed for context and simplified your content, you have to make sure it's accessible to everyone, on every single device.
Whoa, I mean, just look at this data from Nielsen. It's pretty staggering, right? The success rate for just accessing web content on a basic feature phone is only 38%. This is such a powerful reminder. If you only design and test on the latest smartphone, you are deliberately shutting out a huge portion of your potential audience.
And this leads us to a golden rule that kind of flips the typical design process completely on its head. Design for the simplest device first. You start with the lowest common denominator. Because if you can make your learning experience work well there, I guarantee it's going to work beautifully everywhere else. That's how you get to true accessibility.
So in practice, what does that look like?
Well, it means using super simple formats like basic HTML and keeping your code really lightweight for fast downloads. On the design side, it means huge tap targets and plenty of white space, basically designing for clumsy fingers on a moving bus.
Okay, so we have covered a lot of ground here, from that big, exciting promise all the way down to the nitty-gritty of design. Let's pull all of these principles together into one final actionable blueprint.
Here it is, your 4-step plan. First, always start with context. Second, simplify ruthlessly. Third, prioritize accessibility by designing for the simplest device first. And finally, and please do not skip this step, you have to prototype and test your design on a whole range of actual devices, not just a simulator. Following these steps is how we make that anytime, anywhere promise a real-life reality.
Because at the end of the day, effective mobile design isn't just about shrinking a course to fit on a small screen. It's a fundamental shift in how we deliver knowledge. It's about taking learning out of the classroom and putting it right into the real world, providing support exactly when and where people need it most. So the only question left is, how will you use it?